The night was quiet in the small town on the edge of Chicago, where streetlights flickered against the silence of midnight. For most people, midnight meant rest, comfort, and safety in their warm beds. But for Ethan Cole, midnight was just another hour of work. Ethan was a mechanic. Young, strong, his hands permanently stained with oil and grease, but his heart was one of kindness. He lived simply in a small rented room above a repair shop, the kind of place where the walls were thin and the radiator clanked more often than it warmed. His life wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. After losing his father at 16, Ethan had taken on the role of provider for his mother and younger sister, though life hadn't been gentle in return. His mother had passed 3 years ago, and his sister, Emma, had moved away for college, leaving Ethan with only his work and an endless determination to do right by people, even when no one was looking. That night, he had just finished tightening the last bolt on a customer's car when he heard it, a distant, frantic sound of tires against gravel and a car sputtering as though gasping for breath. Ethan wiped his hands on a rag and stepped outside. The road beyond the repair shop was dimly lit, stretching into a black ribbon of silence. And there, barely 100 feet away, a sleek black Mercedes coupe sat at an awkward angle, its hazard lights blinking like a call for help. Ethan squinted. That car didn't belong here. It was polished, expensive, and clearly out of place in this neighborhood where beat-up trucks and rusted sedans were the norm. He grabbed his flashlight and walked toward it. As he approached, he saw her, leaning against the driver's side door, arms wrapped around herself, shivering though the air wasn't that cold. She looked no older than 20, her long chestnut hair tumbling over a pale silk blouse that seemed far too delicate for the situation. Her eyes, wide and uncertain, lifted to him as the beam of his flashlight caught her face. "Hey," Ethan called out gently, lowering the light so it wouldn't blind her. "Car trouble." Her lips parted, and her voice was soft but trembled. "It just stopped. I don't know what happened. I was driving and suddenly the engine died. I don't know what to do." Ethan glanced at the car, then back at her. She didn't look like someone who knew the first thing about engines. Her shoes, high heels with crystal straps, were sinking into the gravel. She hugged herself tighter, looking almost fragile under the flashing hazards. "Don't worry," Ethan said, offering a reassuring smile. "You're lucky. You broke down right next to the only mechanic around here who doesn't mind midnight calls." She blinked at him, as if trying to process the coincidence. "You're a mechanic." "Born and raised," he replied. "Ethan Cole, let's take a look at your car." He crouched near the hood and asked her to pop it. She hesitated, fumbling with the latch before it finally clicked open. As Ethan lifted the hood, the faint smell of burnt oil and overheated metal hit him. He shined the flashlight inside, his practiced eyes quickly scanning the damage. "It's the alternator," he muttered mostly to himself. "Battery's dead too." He glanced up at her. "Did the dashboard lights flicker before it stopped?" She nodded quickly. "Yes, exactly that." "Well, that explains it." He sighed, wiping his hands again. "I can fix it, but not out here. You'll need a tow, or..." He hesitated, then added, "If you trust me, I can bring it into my shop right here and get you back on the road by morning." Her shoulders relaxed a little at his calm tone. "You'd do that, at this hour?" Ethan chuckled. "Lady, cars don't care what time it is. They break when they want. And helping's what I do." She studied him for a moment, as though trying to read if his kindness was genuine or if there was some hidden price. But Ethan's eyes were steady, honest, unbothered by her wealth or her beauty. With a small nod, she said softly, "Okay. I trust you." Together, they pushed the car toward his shop. Ethan did most of the work, muscles straining as he guided the heavy machine, while she stayed close, holding the steering wheel steady. When they finally got it inside the shop, he handed her a chair and a bottle of water. "You sit. Let me handle the car." She obeyed, perching lightly on the edge of the chair, her eyes never leaving him as he worked. Ethan moved with confidence, removing parts, cleaning, replacing wires. He didn't boast or explain, he just did what he knew, every movement showing years of practice. To her, it was mesmerizing. Hours passed until, at last, the car roared back to life. Ethan wiped the sweat from his forehead, grinning at the sound. "There you go. Good as new." "Well, almost." You'll need a proper alternator replacement in a day or two, but I've patched it well enough to get you home safely. She stood, her eyes bright with relief. I don't even know how to thank you. Ethan shrugged. You don't have to. Just drive safe. Midnight's no time to be stranded. But she reached into her bag and pulled out a crisp stack of bills. Please, take this. You've saved me tonight. Ethan looked at the money, then at her. Something in him resisted. I didn't help you for money. Keep it. Her lips parted in shock. No one ever refused her money. Ever. Why? She whispered. Because kindness shouldn't come with a price tag, Ethan said simply. Then, after a pause, he added, just promise me you'll get that alternator replaced soon. Don't wait until it breaks again. She smiled faintly, tucking the money back into her bag. I promise. Thank you, Ethan. Anytime, he replied. Now, get home safe. She left soon after, her Mercedes gliding back onto the road, her taillights disappearing into the night. Ethan returned to his small room upstairs, exhausted but oddly content. He didn't even know her name. The next day, the town buzzed with an unusual energy. Ethan was at the shop when a sleek convoy of cars pulled up. Out stepped the girl from last night, this time in broad daylight, her hair tied neatly, her clothes elegant and expensive. But what caught Ethan off guard was not her, it was the woman who followed her. Tall, graceful, dressed in a designer suit that seemed to command respect, the woman's face was instantly recognizable even to someone like Ethan who never read glossy magazines. Catherine Beaumont, the billionaire philanthropist, business mogul, and one of the most powerful women in America. And the girl from last night, she was her daughter. Ethan froze, his rag slipping from his hand. The girl smiled shyly at him, while Catherine's sharp, assessing eyes swept over him. You're the mechanic my daughter told me about? Catherine asked, her voice both curious and commanding. Ethan nodded, suddenly self-conscious of the grease on his hands. Yes, ma'am. Ethan Cole. Catherine studied him for a long moment, then glanced at her daughter. He's the one who helped you. Yes, mother, the girl replied softly. If it weren't for him, I'd have been stranded. Something flickered in Catherine's eyes. Surprise, maybe even gratitude, but it quickly vanished under her composed exterior. She extended her hand to Ethan. Then you have my thanks. You may not realize it, but you've done something extraordinary. Ethan shook her hand, firm but humble. Just did what anyone would do. But Catherine's gaze lingered on him, as if she knew that wasn't true. Not everyone would refuse money. Not everyone would help without expectation. That moment was the beginning of something Ethan never saw coming. Something that would test his character, his heart, and his belief in the power of kindness.